Senator Bam, Aquino is recognized.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chairman. My questions are on the youth, no? Pero bago yun, I'd just like to jump off on some of these questions that came up from the questions from my colleagues. Tanungin ko lang po yung DOH. I think in the current budget, there's budgeting for drug rehab centers, no? But it's only, if I'm not mistaken, four centers of 500 beds each. Eh di 2,000 lang po yun. That seems to be out of scope with regard to how many surrenderies po na meron tayo. Kung di po ako nagkakamali, 600,000 na po yung surrenderies po natin. I know may 1 billion from the private sector, pero hindi po ba masyadong konti naman po yun? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Senator Bam. But I'd like to inform the body in compliance with the directive that I answered from the orders of Senator Lacson. I complied with that promise that I submitted. I don't know if you received it already in your office. The thing you were...
Sige, Asek, go ahead.
So I complied because this has something to do with your question.
Okay. I'm sorry, no, I'm not familiar with the previous discussion. I guess the question is, ano yung tamang number of beds na dapat meron tayo?
Precisely.
Ano nga po ba yung tamang number of beds na meron dapat tayo for drug rehab?
Sa ngayon po, the records will show that the data were those were given were before the surge of this phenomenon.
So ano na po ngayon?
Brought about.
What is your suggestion?
I'd like to give you some vital information.
Sige po.
Because during our initial meeting, the first week of the President Duterte's administration, we had a call from the office of Secretary to the Cabinet, Secretary Basco, and then Secretary of the ILG, Secretary Sueno, and of course our DOH Secretary, which I represent, Secretary Bial, and of course the Dangerous Drugs Board with our newly appointed Chair, Dr. Benji Reyes, and the PDEA, and of course the PNP. Now, we categorize, and as I mentioned in the past previous Senate hearing, the categorization of the different forms of surrenderers. And they were actually the role of, initially, I chaired the first sector or the first level, which is for rehabilitation. And so, in coordination with the performance in the response of the PNP, there were thousands of, we call them surrenderers, influx actually, which were not expected during the budget hearing of last year.
That's right.
So that was unexpected. So different times calls for different doings. But in response to that, after categorizing the different surrenderers, and with the help of the PNP for their categorization, and it's for their way of identifying the surrenderers, and then the DOH's way is to categorize them if they are occasional users, moderate users, or
Asik, let me, sorry to cut you, I have more questions kasi, but it's just a simple question. How much should we increase the budget for drug rehab centers in the current budget? Because we're currently deliberating the budget, and alam naman natin na pwede pa naman magbago yan until the law is actually passed. So, meron na po bang figure ang DOH with regard to how many more centers we need to put up?
We will put up additional 4 centers. But this is what I was for regional centers. But this is what I was about to say.
Yes, second.
There is a donation to an answer to the call of the president, and this to the military camps. And so the creation of a mega TRC, Mega Treatment and Rehab Center, one located in Nueva Ecija and Fort Magsaysay. So there was an immediate response. In fact, the materials came in, and so we immediately drafted the memorandum of agreement and with the meeting in Malacanang, the office of the president with Yusek Ong, and the creation of a mega TRC that would house in about 5 to 10,000, the maximum of 10,000 surrenderers.
Asek, this will be under DOH pa rin, no? It
Yes,
won't
yes,
be under
yes.
the military.
The management.
Okay.
The role of the military is the utilization of the lot.
Okay, okay.
And that is a military camp in Fort Magsaysay. That's just one of them. The other one would be, there was a proposal for another military camp in Bohol and another one in Capiz. But for immediate response, the immediate response is the building of a mega TRC, but which is only about temporary, in the sense that because we have to immediately construct the and build up the area, which is presently being done now.
All right. So, in short, Asek, there's plan for 4 more and possibly the mega DRCs.
Yes.
But if you add all of that together, that's roughly about 15,000, no?
And another, Mr. Senator, is the community-based.
Okay.
I'll give you an example, as I've mentioned in the past hearing. Provinces like Cebu and in Metro Manila, there is the community-based, after basing it on the surrenderers, we have the community-based, after the profiling from the PNP, we have the community-based form of rehabilitation. And this would now include all the regional offices, because in every region there is one, a DOH office. So it will be managed in coordination with the local government units.
Okay. Alam mo, Asek, this community-based effort, baka in the end, this might be more cost-effective and more humane, and maybe it might be even mas madali rin yung i-monitor, no? But anyway, the budget season is until December. We usually pass the budget until December. And I would enjoin the DOH to take the opportunity.
Yes.
Ngayon ho na everybody wants to support the war on drugs and the rehabilitation efforts. Maybe more than ever, you could probably pwede ho kayong umasa talaga ng suporta mula sa Senado pagdating sa budget item na to. Because 600,000 surrenderies and then 2,000 beds, it's masyadong malayo, no? Now, 2,000 beds, eh.
So just recently, Mr. Senator, we submitted the budget of 3 billion.
3 billion.
That is for the regular budget hearing which we had yesterday, initiated also with Congressman Lanete.
That's just the DOH po, di ba? That's the whole DOH budget.
DOH po. For treatment and rehab lang po. For treatment,
so this is not yet in the net, no? Wala pa po ito doon. Or is it already there? Because ang nakita ko po 4 centers pa lang.
The budget will be proposed for 2017.
Nasa net na.
Opo. Ang sinasabi ko pong itong additional budget, it is for this from the start of this administration of President Duterte up to December.
I see. Okay.
And so and of course I have to inform the Senate about the call which was responded. Senator Binay was there also, Senator Lacson, with the call of the corporate social responsibility thing.
Yes.
And so, San Miguel Corporation, well, without really advertising, gave a donation of 1 billion.
Yeah.
This might initiate, but this will be utilized for initially for included for this year's use budget. And of course, as was mentioned, the initial response will also come from PAGCOR and PCSO.
All right. So, ASEC, in short, the drug rehab facilities of the government, ang metric po niyan, number of heads, di ba?
Yes, yes.
Ang number of heads saka number of beds, pareho lang ba yun? Usually pareho
Yes,
po yun,
yes,
no?
yes.
Okay.
No, but they're outpatients, di ba?
Yeah,
Hindi
these are the outpatients
So,
for
2,000 yung admitted.
inpatients.
But there are more.
Yes.
Yung mga
Okay.
outpatients.
Let me-
What's the total number?
Yes, let me jump off on that. Ano po yung total number of individuals that government can provide free rehabilitation to?
I just had a talk with the newly appointed chair of the board. Dr. Reyes, would you like to give
Yeah,
a
go
recent
ahead.
update with your figures?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Senator. Just to give you a better picture, Mr. Chair, if you're talking about 3 to 3.7 million users, according to international statistics, out of that number, we have around 0.6 to 1% na kailangan, sir, na iparehab. So that's around 30,000 to 37,000 persons. Right now, Mr. Chair, ang capacity lang ng rehab natin at most 10,000, no?
The most,
And we're only housing last year 5,000 plus lang.
Dr. Reyes, let me just ask you again. Yung 0.6, yun lang yung kailangan ni rehab.
According to international statistics, Mr. Chair, 0.6 to 1% ang yung drug dependent talaga. The rest would require outpatient and community-based programs, Mr.
I
Chair.
see. So, okay. So this is, well, it's new to me, no? So, hindi ho lahat ng surrenderies kailangan mag-rehab.
Yes.
Po.
Hindi ho. It's only 0.6%?
0.6 to 1%, Mr. Chair.
So, the metric that we're using is let's say 1% of 3 million, di ba? So, 30,000. So, we need facilities for 30,000 individuals.
At the very least, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So, hindi naman ganun kalayo na kung nasaan tayo.
Mr. Senator, what was being mentioned is the institutionalization of residential. Kasi po yung iba, sabi nga po, outpatient, they don't need
To stay.
to stay. They could be treated as outpatient. Yun po, kaya nga po dito, is in coordination with the community after assessment and after evaluation, and in coordination with the cities and municipalities up to the lowest barangay, in coordination. Ito po
Okay.
yung tanaman natin, community-based drug rehabilitation.
Check lang related.
Apo.
Does DOH have the capability sa personal fill-up ninyo to determine who would be outpatient
And who would
at
be
saka
staying.
sino yung who will be staying in the or will be housed in the rehabilitation centers?
At the present time, of course, we are increasing our capacity. But because of the surge or an influx of the surrenderers, talagang wala po silang paglalagyan ang base.
Yung personnel ninyo na magdi-determine sino yung pauwiin, outpatient, at sino yung mag-stay behind para ma-rehab. I'm referring to the personnel of DOH.
Yes. Meron po. Kaya nga, we have this coordination. Kailangan, not only DOH. Kaya nga, we will be building up and having training and capacity building for LGUs up to the lowest barangay. Yes, because we have our barangay health workers po.
Nataka muna yung plano at present.
Ongoing.
No, capable ba kayo na mag-absorb
No.
and mag-determine kung sino yung pauwiin? I'm referring to your personnel fill-up at present.
At present po kulang. Hindi pa capable. That is why we will be building up this coordination and this barangay-based together with
Asek,
our...
may I ask, yung kulang ng kaalaman, kulang ng tao?
Both.
Both.
Because
we have barangay health workers in all barangays, no?
Yes.
So, kulang pa rin yun.
We have to train them with regards to drug rehabilitation.
Yes. Do you need to add more barangay health workers or yung current complement po natin kailangan na ng kaalaman?
We have to add pa.
You also have to
We have
add.
to-
Okay.
Well, based on the data of the President surrenderers ngayon.
We are proposing, Mr. Chair, at least one per district should have the capability to determine the level of drug dependency, Mr. Chair, and that would be a paramedical person, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Actually, Secretary, one of my bills in the past Congress was one nurse per barangay, no? Maybe this is something you can look into kasi marami po tayong mga nurse rin naghahanap ng trabaho.
Yeah.
I would even say, go deep na talaga. Kasi ngayon, habang, yesterday sa DBCC, Secretary Jokno said they're willing to borrow money, no? To really fulfill all the social services na kailangan. Kumpletuhin natin because as Senator Manasan had said, just a second, Asek, yung police, we burden them with everything, pero the truth is, lahat ng agencies need to work together for this, di ba? And yung takot natin, pagkatapos mag-surrender, pagkatapos mahuli, babalik rin lang, no? So we need to make sure na, one, prevented, but secondly, is kapag nag-surrender na huli, hindi na babalik. And this might mean, initially, my thought was more facilities, no? But actually, it's more barangay-based type of interventions. No? Is that right, Asek?
Exactly po. In fact, in the last Senate hearing, I mentioned about the 3 pillars. That includes, one is the DOH. The second is the religious, where the UBAs come in, as was mentioned a while ago.
Ito po.
Opo. And then, we have also, again, the TESDA for building up of job initiatives.
Hindi lang TESDA kasi yung DepEd may abot alam program na pagkabit ng mga OSYs.
It's an inter-agency, Senator.
Okay. Sige po.
In response to this.
This was just a small question that turned into a long discussion, no? But let me move on to other things.
No, I have a suggestion. Siguro DDB should take the lead, to integrate all efforts of the, siyempre kasama law enforcement, but more importantly, yung support mechanism. Yung community, DOH, of course, yung UBAS, and the youth, of course.
In fact, Mr. Chairman, we already prepared an algorithm and a provisional board regulation marrying all these components, including your question earlier, Mr. Chair, yung regarding the minors. It's just that hindi pa po napipirmahan Mr. Chair, ng mga board members itong aming board regulation. I can submit this to
Kasi
the
hindi naman
committee.
normal times ito eh. Yung fight against illegal drugs, we have not experienced something like this before. So, pagka extraordinary circumstances, kailangan din na extraordinary moves, di ba? Or efforts.
Sige, let me jump off on that, Dr. Reyes. Maybe si Com Earl can also answer, no? Doon po sa 3 million natin na, how do you call it? Drug users, ano nga po ulit yung porsyento ng mga once in a lifetime? Yung sabi yung lifetime?
It's around 4.3 million, like yung
once in their lifetime.
Once in their lifetime.
Okay, so
Tumikim, Mr. Chair.
Tumikim. Okay. Yung nasarapan at naging nahook, ilan po yun?
Basically, Mr. Chair, 0.6 to 1%. Ito yung dependent, naging dependent talaga, Mr. Chair.
0.6, only 0.6 to 1%?
Based on international statistics, UNODC statistics, Mr. Chair.
Pero, parang that doesn't... Okay, what is 1% of 4.3 million? 43,000.
Yeah.
43,000 lang talaga yung masasabi nating drug addict talaga.
Yung levels kasi, Mr. Chair, we're only talking about yung extreme drug dependency, yung severe substance use disorder na kailangan talagang iparehab, Mr. Chair. Yung moderate substance use disorder pa rin yan, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
but can be provided with outpatient interventions.
Okay, so yung how do you say it? Heavy users is 1%, moderate, yung moderate, delikado pa rin yan, di ba?
Moderate, Mr. Chair, maybe around 2 to 10% ang magre-require ng outpatient programs.
Only 10%. So, 430,000. And the rest?
The rest, Mr. Chair, would be mild substance use disorders, structured community-based programs, Mr. Chair, or yung basic community-based interventions lang, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so you're saying the majority once lang nag-try? Talaga, that's very surprising to me, no, na, okay, I would have expected a higher number, no? But in any case, dun po sa moderate at dun sa yung intense or heavy users, severe, anong porsyento po dun yung youth, no, below the age of 30? Is it high? Is it a low percentage? Asek, would you come, Earl?
So, recognize Asek Saavedra.
Good morning, Senator. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Actually, the data that we use at the National Youth Commission is still based sa data provided po by the Dangerous Drugs Board. But lately, in one of the meetings which we had sa DDB po, shinare naman namin yung nakalagay sa Youth Adult Fertility and Sexuality Study.
Okay.
Bale 2013 data po ito. And for the record, Mr. Chair, Mr. Senator, if I may just cite some of the significant findings, nakalagay dito na the mean age of first drug use is at 17.3 years old. So same ito for males and females. Tapos yung drug use, more prevalent siya among males at 7.1%. Breakdown na po ito, no? Then females at 0.8%. The proportion of youth who ever used drugs doubled from 1994 to 2002. So, from 6%, naging 11% po siya. So, siguro po ito yung ibang mga kasagutan doon sa mga tanong po na nag-erase nyo.
What is the absolute number of 11%?
Ito po ay base sa survey which they did. So, yung respondents po kasi nito aabot po ng 10,000.
No, but pag sabi mong 11% of youth, ano ba yung number natin ngayon ng youth? What is the population?
The population, sir, since the population of the country just turned 104 million, so around 30% po nito. So mga 34 million po yung population ng youth ngayon at present. Opo.
Kung 11%, edi 3 million yun. That doesn't match the numbers of DDB.
Yun po yung sa DDB po kasi household survey po yung ginawa nila. At saka yung number of youth drug users na meron sila ay base po yung mga admitted sa mga rehabilitation centers at saka yung mga nag-undergo ng intervention programs. Yes, sir.
Si YAFS, I'm familiar with YAFS. This is YAFS 4? YAFS 4 na ba to? O YAFS 3?
This is YAFS 4, Mr.
4
Chair.
na, okay. Si YAFS 4, 10,000 respondents yan, but was it done in a way na indicative siya of the whole population or just of that 10,000?
Yung 10,000 lang po ito.
Okay, so hindi siya indicative of the whole
No,
population.
not necessarily. But
So,
we clarified that, Senator, sa kanila kasi gusto rin po namin ma-analyze ito deeply because last time when we had a talk with the Dangerous Drugs Board, sabi namin napaka-significant ng data na ito at kailangan ma-match dahil gagamitin ito sa pagko-conceptualize namin ng Philippine Youth Development Plan at part of which ay yung pagka-come up ng mga safety nets and safeguards to ensure na maka-curb yung vulnerability sa mga young people.
Sige, so if that's not indicative of the whole population, balik ako kay Dr. Reyes, no? Kayo po, malaki kayong extrapolation of the, hindi extrapolation, breakdown of the numbers. Anong porsyento po nung 4.3 million, yung between the age of 0 to 30?
We can get the data, Mr. Chair.
Is it proportionately high than other age ranges, or is it more or less parehas lang sa 31 to 40, 41 to 50?
Well, I was given this statistics, Mr. Chair. For children 10 to 17 years old, ang current users, Mr. Chair, is 5%. Ang 18 to 59 years old, significantly high, Mr. Chair.
18 to?
18 to 59 years old, Mr. Chair.
59?
Yeah.
Masyadong broad yung
Masyadong broad.
number na yun, no?
We can provide you the data, Mr. Chair. I-calculate namin.
Okay, that would be very interesting, I guess, to the committee, no? Kung ma-breakdown natin sa edad yung usage. Okay, let me ask another question, no? Maybe I can ask si Asik Punsalan again. When I was still in the National Youth Commission in the early 2000s, no, medyo matagal na po, 1 decade ago, yung lumabas po doon na very effective drug prevention sa mga kabataan is having peer counseling groups in the barangays and in the schools. Is that still the same, is that still the best drug prevention program for our young people?
Yes. Opo.
Pareho pa rin.
Mr. Senator, in fact, that was the part of what I mentioned because kagaya din po ng UBAS, community, yung environment, plays a major role in the success of rehabilitation. And of course, yung pong kasing environment, if it's not conducive to rehabilitation, babalik din sila sa sa dating gawi.
As rehabilitation and prevention, kahit prevention.
Yes. Parang hindi na po sila
pumasok.
Now, giving them also importance at hindi sila, as I mentioned, ma-stigmatize. Because that's a problem. Sometimes, kapag the person has been identified as a dependent, na ano na sila, na ma-marginalize na sila. So, I think activities and also religious organizations, activities that would be encouraging at bibigyan natin sila ng morals and value formation, that plays a big role in rehabilitation.
Thank you for that, Asek. And again, ngayon po na nakafocus tayo sa laban sa droga, pondohan po natin yan. Because I remember in 2003 or 2004 when I was NYC chairperson, kahit recognized na yun yung best drug prevention program, hindi rin naman namin mapapondohan because it wasn't really the priority at that time. Now that this is the priority, maganda kong pondohan po natin yan. And again, it goes back to our LGUs, no?
Yes.
How we're able to organize, no? And let me jump off to another issue. Meron po kasing calls na i-abolish yung council ng barangay at yung SK, no? May mga nagsasabi na hindi importante. But ngayon po na nasabi nyo rin na itong intervention ng ating mga local officials, napakahalaga sa kabataan, sa ating mga mamamayan na may mga drug issues po. And let me ask si Attorney Abisamis, no? Does yung Liga po ng Barangay, na-imagine ba na pwedeng ma-organize yung mga barangay at yung mga SK para talagang makatulong po sa laban na to, not only sa enforcement, alam ko mahalaga po sila sa enforcement, pero even on the prevention and rehabilitation. Ito pong sinasabi po ni Asek, i-convert mo yung mga badak at yung mga barangay councils to really be at the forefront of the fight, providing these services. Is that something that the barangays imagine? Is it something po na bukas sa kanila? Na-imagine po ba nila na pwede nilang i-take on yung role na yon?
As far as the barangays are concerned, we are very much willing to take on that challenge. And that, as a matter of fact, we have been very active already in pursuing towards the accomplishment of those objectives. That is the reason why we have been closely coordinating and communicating, holding meetings with the other agencies concerned. So, gaya po nung nabanggit kanina, for example, yun pong barangay health workers, medyo kulang. As far as statistics are concerned, out of the 42,036 barangays throughout the Philippines, yun pong available data as of December 2015, 185,441 barangay health workers po meron tayo. Total po of the barangay volunteers, including tanods, members of the Lupon Tagapamayapa, pwede po yan, ano, dahil they are considered as peers na talagang sinusunod din naman sa community. Ang total po niyan ay umaabot sa 1,060,994 barangay workers and volunteers. So we can just imagine if we will be able to tap all these barangay officials. I'm very sure that they will contribute a lot in the success of the campaign against illegal drugs.
Right now, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, yung concentration po ng ating barangay officials, mas sa enforcement, no? Tumutulong po sa pulis natin na makahuli, maka-identify. Ito pong aspeto na to, na minimension po ni Asik Punsalan, creating these community programs for the youth, mga peer counseling, ito po ba'y kaya ng ating mga barangay na gawin?
Kaya po ng barangay yan. At gaya po nung nabanggit ko kanina, no? The barangays have closely coordinated also with the interfaith groups. Hindi lang po ito yung mga Katoliko, lahat po ng religious groups. And I could see and I could feel the enthusiasm of these religious groups in order to help and support the barangays in this campaign. And not only in the operational aspect, but also in the awareness.
Oh, and attorney, I think makatulong rin sa ating anti-drug drive. Kung, again, hindi lang yung PNP yung nakapronta. If it's a multi-sectoral effort, no, may simbahan, may local, may mga organizations, parang we can really see that it's a community effort to fight drugs. Again, a lot of attention on the PNP, but at the end of the day, isang aspeto lang sila dun sa laban. And I think na-mention na rin yan ni General in previous hearings. No? ASEC wants to say something.
I would like to take this advantage also. Now, aside from yung community, we have also the recovering drug addicts or drug dependents na naka-recover na, and they are good, kumbaga, ambassadors already on their own, based on their experience. They could even, we have the Narcotics Anonymous. Narcotics Anonymous, of course, Ubas can relate with me. They could be the ambassadors of telling the youth, for example, of their experience, and it could be used as and in fact we are using them in part of our seminars. Na they become resource persons, and they could give their experiences and relate to and share their experiences as a form of an incentive or encouragement, because we could not only do it through health. It has to have a peer support, of course, as I've said, barangay, community, and religious. Kasama po yan morals.
Thank you, ASEC. Opo. I've run out of time, no? But just very quickly, si ASEC Earl, kung gusto nyo pong magsalita rin sa issue ng maybe, how does the NYC look at the SK as maybe a possible partner in preventing drugs in the communities?
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking that question. Actually, naging interested po ako sa naging dialogue kanina sapagkat gusto ko rin pong i-share na apart from what NYC is doing right now, meron din po kasi tayong 6 na flagship initiatives mostly funded by the Dangerous Drugs Board. At saka yung naging sistema po kasi namin dito, yung implementation process is through localized approaches, Senator Bam. In fact, nakatarget siya sa 3 thematic areas. Una, demand reduction. Pangalawa, preventive education focusing on programs, projects, activities, and advocacies. And lastly, yung sa civic awareness. In fact, doon po sa partnership with the barangays and local government units, matagal na rin po naming nilalabi ito on the part of NYC na sana makonsider yung proper implementation ng particular section under Republic Act 9165 on the creation of special drug education centers. Ito po ay para sa mga out-of-school youth and street children in each locality. Ang naging problema po kasi recently, hindi po pinopondohan. Kasi subject po siya sa approval ng local chief executive. And madalas po nilalabi namin na sana kung part ng political will ng local chief executive na mag-come up ng relevant intervention programs for the youth para hindi sila maging vulnerable sa illegal drug use, kasama na rin po ito. We envision the special drug education centers to be a facility and a one-stop hub for development of intervention programs na pwedeng mag-implement nitong mga sinasabi po nating mga approaches para naman masalba natin yung mga kabataan from becoming drug dependents. Yung sa SK na aspect naman po, meron po kasing ide-develop na comprehensive barangay youth development plan. Itong mga SKs, once they sit and assume office, 3 taon po ito. And out of the 3-year plan, meron din pong annual barangay youth investment program. Gusto po kasi namin, naging commitment po namin kay Secretary Sueno ng DILG, na kung maglalabas po ng guidelines in conceptualizing these blueprints and frameworks for development, kasama po yung mga intervention programs na geared towards drug abuse prevention. So, magandang mekanismo po, Senator, actually. Sana po matulungan din kami ng committee in reminding the League of Cities, Liga ng mga Barangays, doon po sa pagpaprioritize ng special drug education centers kasi dapat po na-create na yan since the time na na-approve po yung batas. Pero for the record, dalawa pa lang po ang special drug education centers na meron to date. Yung isa po hindi pa functional. So nalulungkot kami kasi ito po yung pwedeng maging facility kung saan sasangguni ang ating mga kabataan.
Alright, thank you, Comrade. Just a last question kay Dr. Reyes. And this one is information that I wish to take in my committee, sa Committee on Education. Do you already have any information on how accessible illegal drugs are in our public schools and SUCs?
I think the enforcement sector,
Enforcement
Mr.
side.
Chair, would be in a better position to address that.
Maybe I can ask si General De La Rosa. General, gaano po how accessible, how prevalent are illegal drugs sa ating mga eskwelahan? K-12 tsaka SUCs and private schools. May data na po ba tayo dyan?
So far, wala pa.
Wala pa. But I remember, sabi ko niyo before, parang 94% po ata ng barangay
Yes, Your Honor.
accessible. Okay, maybe we'll tackle this lang in a separate hearing sa Committee on Education.
Yes, Your
But if we could also get some information, gaano po ka-available ang drugs sa ating mga eskwelahan? Ito ba'y mahanap mo sa loob? Ito ba'y mahanap mo sa labas? Or ano po sila? Lumalayo ba sila sa mga eskwelahan? Ang alam ko kasi sa ibang schools, very accessible po siya. And it's something we'd like to take up sa Committee on Education. Baka po you can provide na lang kung may data na po kayo.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, all right. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, sorry for the lengthy questions. Thank you.
It's okay.
The different surrenderers, and with the help of the PNP for their categorization, and it's for their way of identifying the surrenderers. And then the DOH's way is to categorize them if they are occasional users, moderate users, or
Asik, let me, sorry to cut you, I have more questions kasi, but this is a simple question. How much should we increase the budget for drug rehab centers in the current budget? Because we're currently deliberating the budget, and
Yes.
alam naman natin na pwede pa naman magbago yan until the law is actually passed. So, meron na po bang figure ang DOH with regard to how many more centers we need to put up?
we will put up additional 4 centers. But this is what I was, for regional centers. But this is what I was about to say.
Yes, second.
There is a donation to an answer to the call of the President, and this to the military camps. And so, the creation of a mega TRC, Mega Treatment and Rehab Center, one located in Nueva Ecija and Fort Magsaysay. So, there was an immediate response. In fact, the materials came in, and so we immediately drafted the memorandum of agreement with the meeting in Malacanang, the office of the President with Yusek Ong, and the creation of a mega TRC that would house in about 5 to 10,000, the maximum of 10,000 surrenderers.
Asik, this will be under DOH pa rin, no? It
Yes,
won't be
yes,
under
yes.
the military.
The management.
Okay.
The role of the military is the utilization of the lot,
Okay, okay.
and that is a military camp in Fort Magsaysay. That's just one of them. The other one would be there was a proposal for another military camp in Bohol, and another one in Capiz. But for immediate response, the immediate response is the building of a mega. I don't know if you received it already in your office. The thing you were.
Sige, Asik, go
So
ahead.
I complied because this has something to do with your question.
Okay.
Sir,
I'm sorry, no, I'm not familiar with the previous discussion. I guess the question is, ano yung tamang number of beds na dapat meron tayo?
Precisely.
Ano nga po ba yung tamang number of beds na meron dapat tayo for drug rehab?
Sa ngayon po, the records will show that the data were those were given were before the
Okay.
surge of this phenomenon.
So ano na po ngayon?
Brought about.
What is your suggestion?
I'd like to give you some vital information.
Sige po.
Because during our initial meeting, the first week of the President Duterte's administration, we had a call from the office of Secretary to the Cabinet, Senate Secretary Basco, and then Secretary of the ILG, Secretary Sueño, and of course our DOH Secretary, which I represent, Secretary Bial, and of course the Dangerous Drugs Board with our newly appointed Chair, Dr. Benji Reyes, and the PDEA, and of course the PNP. Now, we categorize, and as I mentioned in the past previous Senate hearing, the categorization of the different forms of surrenderers. And they were actually the role of, initially, I chaired the first sector, or the first level, which is for rehabilitation. And so, in coordination with the performance in the response of the PNP, there were thousands of, we call them surrenderers, influx actually, which were not expected during the budget hearing of last year.
That's right.
So that was unexpected. So different times calls for different doings. But in response to that, after categorizing...
Senator Bam, Aquino is recognized.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chairman. My questions are on the youth, no? Pero bago yon, I just like to jump off on some of these questions that came up from the questions from my colleagues. Tanungin ko lang po yung DOH. I think in the current budget, there's budgeting for drug rehab centers, no? But it's only, if I'm not mistaken, four centers of 500 beds each. Eh di 2,000 lang po yun. That seems to be out of scope with regard to how many surrenderies po na meron tayo. Kung di po ako nagkakamali, 600,000 na po yung surrenderies po natin. I know may 1 billion from the private sector, pero hindi po ba masyadong konti naman po yun? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Senator Bam. But I'd like to inform the body in compliance with the directive that I answered from the orders of Senator Lacson. I complied with that promise that I submitted